Hello, beautiful souls. I am out here in this beautiful, abundant place called Mother Earth. And if you want to get more specific, I'm on the island of Ometepe, living in paradise. And I'm here to channel some wisdom for you as I'm expanding into sharing whatever I feel called to share with you as it relates to being a human during this time. That means the multifaceted dimensions of us with love within work, business, relationships, travel, the economy, within all facets of our life, because this is really what I enjoy sharing. And I've realized as I've been an influencer on Instagram for over 2 years, people want to know the things that I'm doing here and how different my life is living as a digital nomad, living on an island in a foreign country for me. And so I'm here to share all of this with you and all of the things that I'm really working on. Even when I'm running a company in my business, I'm always putting my own spiritual development first. So today we're talking about boundaries. What are boundaries? It's that common word that it's a buzzword right now in spirituality. Okay, I need to create boundaries, but there's so many areas of our lives that we are being reminded and actually forced, very not forced, but really encouraged by the universe to create strong boundaries for ourselves, for others, in order to be able to live in a harmonious way. And boundaries sound like a bad word sometimes, or like there's a lot of resistance, especially for women. It's very challenging, I've noticed, to create boundaries. And this has come up for me in many different ways, and I realize that there's so many ways to take boundaries, so I'm going to stick with the simple one of relationships. So very commonly, there are boundaries that need to be set within relationships with your client and in business, and also boundaries with relationships with friends, family, and lovers. So in the terms of business, creating boundaries, you may have to create boundaries with yourself and others. An example of this where boundaries I've seen are not set are, as many of you have probably experienced, boundaries with yourself and your work. This is why we are where we're at right now, and it's no longer working, and why the system is needing a reset and is crashing, is because many people are consumed by their work. There are no boundaries with your work. You, for instance, this is my old world, and I'm sure many of you guys can relate living in Western civilization, where if you worked for an employer, or even maybe for yourself, you may work all day, and then you may get messages on Instagram, you may get emails coming into your inbox, or text messages as it regards to work, and you're trying to spend time with your family or your friends or your lover, and you start checking your phone, and then you're instantly thinking about work, and you're distracted from the present moment with the ones you loved. That is something that needs to be addressed, and something that we need to be more disciplined at with ourselves, of creating boundaries within our work. And this is something that I am constantly working on, because there are times when I have clear boundaries where, for instance, a boundary I typically create is in the morning when I wake up, I have my morning routine. I either stay home, do my meditation, journaling, yoga, cacao, or I go to yoga practice for 2 hours, Jivamukti, and then have my own morning routine there at yoga. And I don't jump into my phone and emails and work until after my morning routine is done. This is very common for people, where we've created boundaries around our phone and work. Because as soon as we get a dopamine hit or we see an email, our mind goes into more of the panic mode of, I must be working on this. And so instantly, we're in fight or flight, we see an email, we need to respond, fix a problem, and we're like, I need to work, and therefore we're not at ease. And the best time to really tune into ourselves and our love and feel just at peace and present is the morning, when we switch from the dream state into the waking state. And so boundaries in the morning, I think, around our phone and work are really critical, as well as at the end of the day. So typically I schedule meetings from around 11 to 5 p.m. And that's typically when I'm kind of allowing myself to work. Sometimes it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., depending on time zones I'm working with. But I'm creating stronger boundaries with when I am working and when I'm on my phone. And there's many excuses, especially for those of you that are working on social media. If you're on Instagram and you're like, oh, but I need to respond to clients and I need to catch up on DMs. I would say that's not an excuse, and to really set boundaries with yourself and your clients, because ultimately you have the power. And when you set boundaries for yourself, it gives people permission as well to do the same for themselves. And you may feel like you can't set that boundary because there's an expectation of someone else. And I may ask and invite you to reflect on that. Is this expectation coming from you or someone else? Is someone serving as a mirror and you feel like they're expecting you to be there and to show up and respond within 10 minutes when they message you back or send you a DM? Or is that your own expectation and a feeling of guilt, even though that guilt and that expectation really isn't there, it's made up in your mind? So boundaries with work are critical, as well as in relationships. And this is something that I'm still heavily working on, because I can set boundaries with people that I may not know very well, but when it comes to intimate lovers and with friends and family, the boundaries aren't as strong for me, and it's something that I'm really being forced to create for myself, for my own act of love, and actually for the ones I love, because when I have my own boundaries, they then can respect and understand what I'm needing versus them trying to guess what I need and where my boundaries are at, and then me getting reactive and frustrated with them for not respecting my boundaries when I haven't even set them, right? So an example of this is my boyfriend would come home from work, my partner, and I would want to be working still. And he was done for the day, and he started talking about the day and all these things. And instead of being like, hey, babe, I need like 1 hour to just finish up, wrap up things, and I'd love to have I'd love to give you my full attention after that. And this is just really what I need. My time online is from 5 to 6 p.m. because I have client calls, and this is when I post and have the most engagement on social media. And after that, I can give you my full attention. How does that sound? That's creating a boundary. And what instead I was doing is he'd come home, and then I would drop my phone, turn off everything, and give him my attention. In my mind, I'm like, oh, I really want to work on these things because I have the energy, and this is my time to really focus on my work. I was sacrificing myself for him, even though he wants the best for me. But I was making my mind that I needed to drop everything and give him my full attention, not be on my phone. And this is a boundary that I was not creating for myself and for him. And over time, it creates resentment and frustration in a relationship, even if we don't know why. So boundaries are really critical, and something that we're all being called to work on and be more aware of, and to practice and discipline ourselves to create them. And really tune into, what do I need in this moment? What is going to respect myself? And through respecting myself, I can then respect others, and others will respect me. So we're really being called to create boundaries, because it's easy for someone that has clear boundaries to then walk over others that don't have clear boundaries, like, oh, like, if I need some help, I know Susie's always going to be available for me, and she's always going to drop everything to help me. And maybe you feel like, oh, but I know that person really needs my help. So then, even though you have your own priorities, you put them to the side and help someone else first. And it's really important to create that boundaries and say, no, I can't do this, or to create some type of agreement. I can do this by this time, but right now I don't have time. I can do it on Friday, but today on Monday I don't have availability. And therefore they can decide, oh, I will wait until then. It's not a pressing issue, or I'll go ask someone else. So we have that power within ourselves to say no, or to really to talk about it and be like, you know what, this doesn't work for me. How about this? And propose a different idea. So this really goes into spirituality. It goes into business. Creating boundaries is really going to create a new way of existing together and anchoring in the new earth. And I really am setting the intention that boundaries don't have to be selfish or rude, and it's really an act of self-love for yourself and an act of love for others. So namaste, and I hope this helps you out.